For the first time, I entered what I thought to be a key nexus point of Photoland, the Photo Book Fair. With my friend Lewis Bush, we got a table for the 3-day photo book fair that coincided with the Peckham 24 Photo Festival, and we walked confidently into their midst, armed with nothing but an array of photo books, zines, a homemade book stand, and some 1/8 scale commandos. In today's episode, you get to see chats with 3 different photo book publishers, some of their books in sexy lay-flat flick fests, and if you watch to the end, I'll tell you how many books I flogged, how much money I burned on booze and Japanese street food, and if I found Photoland itself. There are over 70 book publishers at Peckham 24's A Bigger Book Fair, and Lewis and I were there and we had a great time. Tiffany Jones was there, and she's Overlapse Publishing, and basically she designs all the photo books herself, and that's why they're so incredible. So I caught up with Tiffany at the book fair and had a little chat.
I consider these photo books to be visual literature, so I look at them as visual novels. That's kind of the overarching approach that I take when I am designing or conceiving how the book is going to be. So I definitely think first about the story and how the material aspects can aid in telling the story. So that's definitely how I start out.
Because it's always for me like, you go through them and it is a photo book, but it's like something else.
Yeah.
It's so rich. It's rich and it's detailed, it's full of life and it's vibrant and there's photos in there, but there's all this other ephemera going on. And it's across like all of your books. It's really wild.
Yeah, so I see this as like there being a depth to the page. Maybe the easiest way to describe it is I feel like we live in a matrix, right? So there's an alternative universe, maybe 50 alternative universes. And that's real to me. So that's kind of how I visualize things. I visualize things front to back, up and down, like going in multiple directions. There's no one way to kind of, in a linear way, perceive a story. The past
I think that's the thing. It's just the way you're talking about it. You're so involved. And this is what's so great about you as a publisher, and that, there's loads of people here, and some publishers have just sent other people to be at their stand, but you're Overlapse and you're here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, so I collaborate super closely with the photographers that I work with. You might say that I'm a contributing artist to the work, essentially.
Yeah.
As a designer, but also as the publisher, I have a super huge investment, and I don't make books that don't connect with me personally. So all the books I make are something like I believe in, a story I believe in, or some kind of subliminal kind of visual aesthetic that I believe in. And
one thing, just quick segue, I mean, you do believe in this book, because this was your dissertation.
Yes,
and I own this book, and it's an incredible book about the dynamics of the photo book, and the key word here, market. And you did this before you started your publishing house.
That's right.
It's brilliant, and we've not got much time. Could you just give me a quick takeaway?
So in a nutshell, it's about why not to publish photo books. Why this is a business that you can't actually make money doing. I interviewed publishers, I interviewed booksellers and buyers. And I kind of cross-referenced everything they said and reported on that through a lot of graphs and charts, and just explaining how, people approach trying to make money at this. And there's a lot of information in there that in a very small book here. Which,
you have to buy it. You have to buy it to find out. Thank you, Tiffany. Amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I've got a number of books here I've collected over the years from Overlapse, and they're all very different. And as Tiffany said in that little clip I showed you, she kind of creates books that also kind of inhabit their own world. So I just pick one at random. So even this small little zine, El Dorado by Melissa Aris, there's only so much generally you can do with a zine. But just the cover, the gold, the bright orange, it's all about kind of refugees in France. The way there's sort of little folds here with translated text underneath. Kind of very simple layout. We're not getting into sort of zine territory with loads of text and over-cluttered, Nice full bleed page there on that vertical. Same here. Again, sort of mirroring here of the borders, and mirroring, no pun intended, there's a mirror. But yeah, smaller images here, sort of telling a story, the chopping up of the melon here. But yeah, again, very simple little zine, really nicely executed, and that's just a zine. But then we get into this thing. Now this is a reprint of a book that was published in a bigger format, The Disappearance of Joseph Plummer by Imani Willett. and I think it's sold out, so they made this very little pocket version, and I love it. I think there's something very nice. For some reason, photographers always like to make everything really big. The biggest print's the best print in the show, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? It's not necessarily true. And there's something about these kind of books that Tiffany designs that even in this small size, they're very intimate, they're beautiful, they're lyrical little novels of books. And again, just, you know, the way that text isn't written into the book here, like just typed in, it's like from a piece of paper that's been kind of cut out and scanned and then put in. So when you're making a photo book, like think about that. Oh, a little thank you card. Thanks so much, Ed. Appreciate your support and hope to see you in real life again soon. Keep well. And I think I didn't see her for like another 10 years after she wrote that, but I did see her at the book fair. So there we go. Look at this. So it's like a book within a book. Looks really cool, doesn't it? There's that one. The Saxons of Transylvania. So again, interesting book here. Sort of print on the cover, debossed photograph, kind of cloth spine just on the edge. Again, sort of, you know, playing with the convention of the photo book, almost like a novel. You know, this kind of detailing in the text. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful books. Really interesting little devices here in the narrative. Obviously a lot of work to do, like gluing in all these things. Okay, so there we go. So it's something else, isn't it? There we go. She did publish her dissertation for MMA, right? MMA, for the MA, not MMA, for her MA. That was the dynamics of the photo book market. And again, we spoke briefly about that at the art fair, book fair. You know what I mean? And it's my friend Lewis's book, Metropole, which he originally published as a zine, but then published as a book with Overlapse. And again, I thought that was a really interesting thing that if you're working on a project, guys, you don't have to just wait for it to be perfect and put out the photo book and struggle for years to get anyone to take you seriously. Just make a zine. Test the water, try it as a smaller format. And you know what? When your big book comes out, those zines will probably be a little bit more collectible. So there you go. But again, lots of interesting stuff here. I don't want to pull all this stuff out. There's lots of kind of loose bits and other bits and bobs. So again, giving some sort of interesting contextual reference to it all. There we go. So that is Overlapse. On the row opposite us was the photographer Marc Wilson, who's a very prolific photo book maker and seller. And I thought I'd pick his brain very quickly to not get in the way of any punters.
Question 1. Any photographers embarking on like a long form photo project, seeing as you're somewhat of a dab hand at them, do you have any advice?
Wow. Short advice about long-term project. Take as long as it takes. Don't rush it. And allow yourself to be immersed into the project that you're doing.
Question 2. You're at a book fair. Have you done this one before?
Not this one, no.
And what have you done any other ones? How have you found one?
Yeah, I've done quite a few, and I've done a mixture of being on a group table and being on a table by myself, and they're great. They're quite random in how many books you actually sell, but the conversations you have, connections you make, they last a long time, and something good will always come from.
Yeah, and I think you were saying about, you know, you have a lot of conversations about your work, given obviously the nature of the work, so it gives you that ability. And
yeah, I love it. To me, it's like I make work to tell stories. And so being able to like have that one-to-one conversation with someone is fantastic.
And the final question, again, I'm always seeing your adverts popping up on Instagram, and I never click on them because I'm one of the good guys.
Thank you. Saving me money.
But I'm just wondering, like, you know, some of the posts you're sharing here have had like 10,000 likes. And do you know, what did you say the engagement rate is on Instagram now by doing an advert instead of relying on the kind of algorithm? Do you?
It's, I gotta say, unfortunately, but it makes a massive difference at the moment. The kind of natural engagement has just dropped huge amounts, and who knows why. But the ads work. You know, they go up and down as well. And sometimes they stop working, and then I change them, and they start again.
I was chatting to Mark, and here I am with my edition of The Last Stand, which I've managed to get a nice stain on the cover. Good news is I'm not really a photo book collector. I don't have many books, so you know what? I'm in it for the photography. So there you go. So there's probably better pristine versions. But this was the version published by Triple Kite, signed. Thank you, Mark. And yeah, here we go. So there's quite a long forward here by Roy Exley, and a little essay there. And then in we go. It's quite a nice paper stock here. Very nice sort of silky paper. It's really interesting work because, you know, Mark has a very specific time of day he likes to shoot, and that's when it's cloudy. I remember seeing him kind of when he was trying to make this work on Twitter, and he'd go somewhere obscure, somewhere in France, get to where he's supposed to be photographing, and then the sun would come out and he'd have to stop and try again. But yeah, as you can see, there's very much an aesthetic going on of these landscapes. But yeah, this was the original, pretty sure this is the original design of the book. So, you know, a bit of information for each point. It's obviously called The Last Stand. It's about remnants of kind of defensive bunkers and stuff from World War II. I've always liked some of these ones, man, especially because they look super sci-fi. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, that's Somerset, England, but to me that could be some kind of alien landscape. But hey, that's just me being a sci-fi nerd. But yeah, so there you go. So that was The Last Stand. And what was interesting was that at the art fair, he had kind of a redesigned, re-edition version that was actually a soft cover. And obviously, like, less of a slog. I mean, this is good, right? But, you know, there's a long paragraph pretty much on every page. And it's kind of the same layout pretty much throughout the whole book. So it can be a bit of a slog. Whereas the redesign book, he said that he responded to the readers or something like that. Mark, I'm paraphrasing here, but you get the idea. So the other one's a little bit of different format and very nice in the way that although this is a landscape book, the one he's redesigned is more of kind of a vertical, like a portrait, but it lays flat. So you get these very nice big double page spreads. At the book fair, I met Nina of Objektiv Publishing for the first time, and the word on the grapevine was, from Oliver, one of the organisers of the bigger book fair, that she had the most amazing photography magazine, which has since evolved into a series of books focused on photo theory, often written by a photographer or artist.
I did a magazine for 10 years. We were a small group of 5 people doing it, and it was really, really great. But to do a magazine after 10 years and being the editor, that felt a bit, I don't know, too long. You need to change. And so we transitioned into making a small, transitioning the magazine into these essay publications, these books, where we give one writer the time and space to give a positive rant on contemporary photography. That's what we say. 100 pages and more for Lucas here, but 100 pages to sort of give his or hers or theirs stand why they love the medium, why they hate the medium, why they work with the medium, why they write about the medium. This is our latest by art writer Emma Ors, this one launching here. And so it's all about why is photography important and in their life. And we've made Objektiv has also made some exhibitions, so a criticism review and Søsterskap are more special issues. This is from a show we made in Arles last summer, looking at the Nordic welfare state. It's a co-curated with 6 other curators. And a criticism review was we did a pop-up at Kunstnernes Hus in Oslo, an big art hall, where we asked critics and others we wanted them to art critique, basically, yeah.
Wonderful.
But most of all, it's a rant. Most of all is these, and we have other titles, but they're luckily sold out. It never happens. But most of all, it's...
Wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So these are some issues of Objektiv, which I was chatting about with Nina. So I've got them here now, and I'll be able to look through it in my leisure. And, you know, amazingly kind of written. This one's particularly nice. Why must the mounted messenger be mounted by Lupus Blalock? And you know what? The text is pretty big. It's not like comedy big, not like kids book big, but what I'm trying to get at is it's a very easy read. And it's sort of putting ideas and little priming thoughts and imagery to take you on a very kind of nice journey. It's a very nice way into kind of photographic theory and visual theory. So this is a really, really lovely, fun little adventure here. So yeah, if you're interested about checking out some stuff on photo theory, again, Objektiv series of little books here, really, really good way in. And you know what, man, sorry to say something I didn't know about, because, you know, cellar. But there we go, I do now. So yeah, these were the books I was selling at the book fair. It's in a garden, England, I put out in 2022. One in the Lone Star State from 2023, and a couple of zines, which you might have seen how to make on this very YouTube channel I talked through when I made this like a year and a half ago. Yeah, and I'm currently trying to crowdfund the 3rd in the series of this book, because I don't know if you can see in the bottom here, it says number 1, number 2, and I'm working on number 3, which is a book called Welcome to Dungeness, and that's all about England's only desert, the area of Dungeness in Kent, which I did photograph in 2011, but the cool thing is, man, not much changes down there, really, so architecturally it's kind of the same, because they're not allowed to build there, and yeah, it's a wonderful little story, so if you would like to check out the Kickstarter, that would be great. It's about 33% funded at present with 3 weeks to go. So how did I do at the book fair? Well, by Saturday I'd sold out all of my hardback books by about midday, which is pretty incredible. And I kind of panicked and I ran to the Snappy Snaps that was around the corner and printed a photo of one of my books that had sold out and was trying to sell that. And I don't think people were going to buy a photo of a book. So I knew I had to nip back home, restock, and get some more books. And the irony was I didn't sell any more hardback books on the Sunday. But you know what? If I hadn't have had those books there, I would have been paranoid thinking, man, people might have been buying these books all day. So that's just how it is. So I ended up printing off lots of little QR codes, printed on pieces of paper for my book I'm currently crowdfunding on Kickstarter till the 23rd of June 2024. And I handed all those out to anyone who would talk to me at my stand. And I think it really helped because in total I made about £300 selling the books and zines that I had there. But I also did about £250 on the Kickstarter from people I handed out those little leaflets to. So, you know, come what may, I did about £550. And yes, there were some deductions. It cost 75 quid sharing the stand with my friend Lewis. It cost 90 quid in train fare because I live in England and that's how much trains are. And obviously I nipped back to get more books, which I didn't need to, but hey, there we go. I guess I spent about £50–60 on beer and Japanese food. So all in all, still in profit. And all those people who got those QR codes, man, hopefully somewhere they're in their purse or in their wallet and they might see it before the 23rd of June when the Kickstarter ends, and maybe they'll back my book. Now the big questions on everyone's lips is, did we find Photoland? Was a bigger book fair Photoland? And you know what? I don't think it was, and I'll tell you why. Firstly, they replied to my emails, okay? The amount of book fairs I've reached out to where you just get completely ghosted and they don't even want to talk to you, that's probably because I'm a photographer self-publishing, but still, that's kind of how they kind of operate. The other thing they do is they charge you 500 quid for a stand sometimes. And if you're like Phaidon or Thames and Hudson, you can absorb that cost. But if you're just selling your own books, you've got to sell a lot of books before you even break even. So again, that kind of keeps you out of these book fairs. Yeah, it was the first photo book fair I was allowed to take part in, and I had a lot of fun. And that was mainly because of sharing the table with my friend Lewis and meeting other independent publishers there and people who'd self-published, and it just had a really great atmosphere, really great vibe. So I highly recommend doing it yourself. And if you've watched this far, please consider going to my Kickstarter campaign for my new book about Dungeness. I think it's about 33% funded with 3 weeks to go at present. And yeah, check it out, man. It's the same as a series of books that I've done in the past. So like When in the Lone Star State and In a Garden of England. It's going to be a nice big hardback book with lots of amazing medium format photographs in. Cheers.